It's really time for economists to rethink, and Smith, I think, is very much a part of that. Now might be a good time to go back and find out what he really said as opposed to what people have been saying he said for a long time.
I think every economist on this planet knows of Adam Smith's writings. He's one of the most influential thinkers who created the economics discipline as we know it today. And many of his ideas still resonate at this time.
He was not aware that it would have this massive effect, but it did, because it gave each of us, to this day, the confidence to venture, to become what we can. And the result was enormous innovation of all kinds.
The university held a major set of events on the first week or so in June to celebrate the 300th anniversary of Adam Smith's birth. And the events will run right the way through 2023 to celebrate and commemorate Adam Smith, but also to make him more accessible to a wider audience.
What we wanted to do was bring the world to Glasgow. That was all possible by generous support from two main organisations, the John Templeton Foundation, who are supporting our work throughout the year, and the Hunter Foundation, who've been supporting a global lecture series on Adam Smith. We've been able to bring some amazing global policymakers and world thinkers to Glasgow to take part in the commemorations.
Many of those events were public-facing. Some of them were for students, some of them were for academics. So we had a lot of Adam Smith scholars, economists and philosophers coming in, and people talking about ideas, which I think is what Smith was all about.
We're here really celebrating 300 years of his life and his larger legacy beyond just a single book.
He was one of Scotland's greatest persons, and he had some very, very important insights which have shaped economics ever since.
All the biographies say that Adam Smith was a very modest man, so he'd probably be horrified to see his face plastered all over the tote bags and the t-shirts. But also, I suppose, really thrilled that his ideas still had such a resonance 300 years on.
The world that we live in today, this very globalised society where there's trade across international borders, where people travel, where there's interaction between different societies and cultures, that's beginning at Smith's time. And because he's interested in that, then I think he becomes somebody whose ideas help shape how we've come to think about the world that we live in.
So there's a real sense of reviving Adam Smith and saying, you're a really great man, we've forgotten you, please forgive us, it's time to put you back in the pantheon.
As someone who goes to Glasgow University, I didn't know as much about him as I would have liked, so it's been a great opportunity to learn about his thoughts and his academic research, especially as he is one of our most famous alumni.
We had students from all over the university, and I think it showed the breadth and the relevance of Smith's work to a number of disciplines, but I think it also showed the passion that students had to really take this historical figure, debate his ideas and come to a consensus about how it was relevant to them in 2023.
I think it's fascinating having another and less superficial view of Adam Smith. Of course, he had huge contributions for the economic theory and the economic science, but he also wrote about rhetoric, moral philosophy, jurisprudence, and have contributions on education and several other areas.
It's not just the economics and the sciences aspects, also the more social aspects needing to be talked about. So that's one of the reasons why his kind of ideas are very important still to this day, and something that is also being misunderstood and not represented enough.
He was a professor of moral philosophy here. He's a significant philosopher of science, an important figure in the history of the study of rhetoric and literature. And that's what really grasps people. They start thinking, oh, well, I didn't know he believed that, or I didn't know he thought that. And he's a thinker who has so much to say on so many different topics that you can always find something in him that will help you think through a difficult problem in your discipline.
I think a year of celebrations is a wonderful time for reflection and still not enough time to really dig into the wealth of ideas. So I hope that this year is just the beginning of studying and understanding Smith.